Hey, welcome back. So we're on video 4 now for our Java 14 beginner series. And let's look at some data types. All right, so let's just get into it. So we've already looked at a data type. This one is a string, okay? But there are all kinds of data types. I'm going to make a list here. We're going to run a list of data types in Java on the screen. Ready? Go. All right, you see all those? So that's how many data types you can have. So what is a data type? Well, a data type is the type of data that you're going to use. See? It's kind of self-explanatory. It's real easy. So for Bubba, our string means it is using characters, letters in between double quotes. All right? That's a string. All right, so what we're going to use here is what's called a primitive. Now that means it's a lowercase int. This is an integer. If you remember from your math class, you know what an integer is, right? So a primitive int is different from an integer. Okay? Now why is that different? Well, this one is just primitive data. This one's actually a class that wraps around this primitive data type. Okay? That's getting a little ahead of ourselves. So let's just remember there's an int, right? So I can do like int, and then I gotta name it 1 equals 1. Alright? Now then if I do a system out print line of 1, notice I didn't use any quotes or anything, right? Let's get rid of our scanner, run it, and it's going to print 1 right here. Another primitive data type we're going to use is long. So our long 2 is equal to 2. All right? And then let's just copy. Paste this right here. 2 and run it. We'll see what happens. Oh, 1, 2. Look there. All right. So now then, we're going to use one more. Call it double. Okay? Double 3 is equal to 3. So we'll paste that again. 3. And, look at here. We got 3.0. So as you can see, a long, okay, and an integer, they don't have the decimal. All right? So if we try to do a decimal here, like 1.25, it's going to give us an error and say, hey, you're going to have to change this to a double or something because integer can't be 1.25. If we do a long 2.25, it's going to say, hey, you need to cast that to a double because you can't do a long with a decimal, right? But with a double, we can do 3.25, run it, and it prints it. All right? So that's kind of the basics. Now, you can make these numbers too big, okay? So for an integer only goes to plus or minus 2,147,483,647. All right. Now then, you can't have commas in here. Run it, and it prints it out. Now then, but if I go to 48, look here. That's too big. I try to run it. I get an error. Integer number too large. So an integer is 32-bit signed, right? It means it's positive or negative. It can go up to 2 to the 31st power minus 1, right? The only thing with a double is we're going to use it as an example, but it's not really precise enough to use it to the nearest decimal place. We're going to use it just for this example, though. We'll get into something more of it later. Okay, so now that we have different data types, let's look at our equation. Now I'm going to go out of main, so you can see these are opening and closing brackets. That means everything inside here is inside the main function. So I'm going to go, and this is inside the main class. So you have the main function inside the main class using these brackets right here. So I'm going to go outside the main function, and I'm going to make what's called a Java comment. So what a Java comment is, see, I can take this one out, and that's just a comment. That's just what you read in the code, right? If I use 2 asterisks, then you got what's called a Java comment. And a Java comment lets you create a document automatically. It'll generate a document with all these comments and information in it, make it much cleaner. All right, so let's look at the equation that we're going to be using. Now, I've already typed this out here to kind of explain what it's going to be. So our formula here is ounces of alcohol, that's fluid ounces. Then we have men and women, elimination rate, time over weight. Okay, so there's our formula right there. There's our formula right here. So what we have here, we're going to need to make variables. See? It all ties together. So we'll have a volume, okay? We have our gender, which is male or female, weight in pounds, time in hours, a BAC percentage, okay? Now then the formula here, the BAC, so how many we got? Let's look at how many variables we'll need. Well, we're going to need volume, ounces of alcohol, that's 1. We're going to need 2 constants. Remember, constants don't change. 2 constants, 1 for male and female. And then later on, we're going to need 1 for the elimination rate, 1 for time, 1 for weight. And then what's left? We're going to need our final BAC. All those need to be variables, okay? So what we can do is, up here in main, we can declare some of these. All right? Now then, there's going to be a difference. You're going to learn about global variables versus local variables. Right now, we're going to use a little bit of both, okay? Just so you can see the difference. So we ain't going to use alcohol level right now. All right? Let's take that out. So the first thing we're going to need to make is a volume, okay? So our volume, we're going to make that a double, right? Because it could be a decimal. If I have a 12-ounce beer and then half of another one, that's 18 ounces. So we can put that as, 1.5 beers, right? So let's just make it a double for now. Volume. And I'm not going to assign it to anything, right? I'm not going to say volume equals anything because it doesn't right now. We're going to use that later because we're going to use our scanner to take the input from the user, which is us. The user is going to tell us how much out volume, right? So next we got what? Male or female? Well, that's going to be a string, right? So we're going to make that a string. And we'll just call it, we'll call it gender for now, okay? And then we got, what else we got? We got our body weight, how many pounds we weigh. So let's make that a primitive integer. Body weight, all right? So now that we got our variables in, what we got? Our volume, okay? Our gender, and then our weight. Because we're not going to use this one yet. Alright, so that's it for video 4. Click on over to the next video and we'll keep this going. Bye, y'all.